Hello and welcome back to the Zak Wylde Productions podcast. I am Jack.
And I'm Buzz. And this time we have a special guest in the studio with us, and he's going to be telling us all about a short sci-fi movie called The Truth, which will be going into production in 2020. Okay, Jack, so I suppose it's probably about time that we stop beating about the bush and bring our special guest into the studio. So here is our special guest, and would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Lucas and I'm the director of The Truth.
And The Truth is?
Truth is a short film set in a dystopian sci-fi following Arthur as he tackles this totalitarian regime.
Right, so we're talking about the genre is sci-fi.
Yes.
Ah, great. This is
and it's set in a dystopian universe.
Yeah, so it's not too far from today. Okay. It's what could happen if people lost trust in their current government and a super company like Apple or something like that took over. And so rebranding everything and no one really remembers what life was like beforehand.
So is The Truth, is that
that is the company, yeah.
It's the name of the company that is controlling everything in this dystopian future, rather than it's the truth about what's happening? Or is it kind of the words The Truth play on many different levels?
Well, yeah, so I think the main idea was The Truth is the name of the company, but it's named The Truth because that's all they believe in. They believe that is the truth. You know, that's the world they've been brought up in, so that's everything
so they've been
they know.
Indoctrinated
exactly
to what has been fed to them by this company.
Yeah.
Or is that what the viewer is led to believe?
That's what the viewer is led to believe, but Arthur's interesting because...
Don't give us too many spoilers.
But something happens that makes him change his mind.
Right, so change his mind for the good or for the worse, who knows? We'll find out.
So, obviously you say it's set in a dystopian universe. Are you trying to send a message with that? Is there a reason you're trying to make this film in that sort of genre?
That's a good question. I mean, firstly, I would jump in there and say, why did you choose to even make this short film?
Well, it was really important to me, mostly because of the recent political turmoil. You know, no side's perfect at the moment, and I felt when I was deciding who to vote for, it was so hard because I didn't like any of them.
Just to put this into perspective for the listeners, because obviously people from all around the world, you're talking about the latest election in the UK.
Yeah, there's good and bad in every party. And I think when I asked people what they thought, no one really knew what to do because it's one of the hardest ones to place your money in. It was a really hard decision.
I mean, without getting into too much depth about the Brexit and all the rest of it, I mean, I can understand because, we have people of lots of different generations. So you've got much older generations that can, I don't want to say they're set in the way. I'm from the older generation, but we can be like that. You can imagine younger generations being far more rebellious, but still not that much life experience. And I don't know, and of course, in today's social media situation, then people get drip-fed daily lots of things which are either going to be factual or not. So that's going to affect things how they go. And so this dystopian future is basically like that, is it?
Well, yeah, so it's set about 50 years in the future after we've lost faith in what we all believe. Okay,
so you mentioned one character.
Yeah. Are there any other characters in this story? Obviously, they've got to navigate this dystopian world as well.
Yeah, well, there's a few characters. Arthur's kind of meant to represent the average person in this society.
I mean, can we ask what Arthur's position is?
So his role is a field inspector. He goes out to see who needs help and why they need help and has to justify whether the company can help them or not.
Okay.
So financially and housing and benefits,
Right, and that's basically Arthur's job.
Yeah.
And what other characters do we meet along the way in this story?
Well, we have a really cool AI boss who basically runs the entire company. They're called the supervisor, and we have an amazing actress playing her, and I'm very excited to be working with her. We have Arthur's boss. His name is Saul. He is very stuck in his ways, but he has an interesting part to him that you find out later. And you have Lucy, who is the heroine of the story. She needs help, and Arthur's one trying to fight for her.
Right, but I mean, you say he changes his mind. So is he out there as his job? Is he fighting for her from onset of the story, or is he fighting for her because something's changed his mind? I mean, how does this?
So Arthur always wants to help people.
So that's what he wants to do.
Yeah.
So he's not one of these kind of like official people that has to follow the rules, computer says no kind of scenario. Yeah. So he's out there and he's a good guy.
Yeah, Arthur's great. Yeah.
He's a great guy. And so he's trying to help the heroine, as you say. So, I mean, we've asked about the characters, and you did mention one of the actresses. Who are the cast actually performing the character roles?
So Arthur's being played by a man named Ben Bruckshaw. He's amazing. When I saw him in the casting, I was blown away. Same with Saul, who's being played by Luke. We've got Lucy being played by Sophie, and the supervisor's being played by Emma, and all of them were just outstanding.
So how did you go about, did you have an audition to find the characters, or did you already know who you were going to cast before you wrote the characters?
Well, I didn't know who I was going to cast. We had a long auditioning process. We started off by looking at headshots and then watching their show reels and inviting them in for an interview and an audition. And the main part was making sure they looked right and they were right for the role. It was a really great experience.
I imagine it's quite hard as well to sort of turn down people. Obviously, you've got one role to fill, and I imagine it's quite a lot of
There's about
actors.
50 people per role that would all be perfect. It's just one of those events.
So are you finding, are you learning a lot from the logistics of putting together, just producing and directing this short film, that even from the onset there's an awful lot of logistics you've got to deal with?
Yeah, so this is about the 7th film I've directed, and I made a few mistakes with casting in the past, and each time it gets a bit harder, but in a good way, because you have to be so much meaner to people, but it's worth it because you get a better film at the end of it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure most actors, I mean, I work within the industry myself, I know you go casting, and you know how many people, as you said, you have 50 people for each role, if not more. It's just the way it works, but you just got to be persistent. And obviously you've chosen the members of the cast that fit the roles.
Yeah, I mean, when it came to them, there was no doubt in the matter, really. It was just waiting for the right person.
Okay, so as far as world building is concerned, how did you go about creating this dystopian world that we obviously are going to see in The Truth?
Well, it's actually one of my favourite parts about the film. We are very inspired by old sci-fis like Star Wars and Logan's Run, and one of the things that stood out about them the most is how they always worked in miniatures, because they didn't have much money, but they made up for it with it.
Okay, so you're introducing little market type, building the sets, miniature sets.
We're building tiny little sci-fi villages and towns that we're going to film as if they're massive, and it's really...
Okay. And what sort of camera techniques are you using those?
So we're using some micro lenses as well as quite wide lenses, because some of them, whilst they are small, they are still quite big, and we need to get the scale of that.
You're going to be putting smoke effects in there and things like that?
Smoke effects, green screen.
Using green screen, blue screen?
Green screen
on this one. Okay.
How much does that cost out of interest?
So that's actually, we're working with a lot of university students, and so far it's been a couple of Big Macs that we've been paying people in. It's worked quite well so far.
I'll work for
exactly that.
Trading in Big Macs. Yes. This is very dystopian already. Really. Okay, so you referenced a couple of movies earlier on. Where did you get your overall inspiration for the storyline for The Truth? Fictionally, I mean, you've discussed already the side of it being reflective of today's society, but fictionally.
Well, originally we were looking at Logan's Run as being the main setting for the film. And then we started introducing elements of 1984. It was a book I've read hundreds of times.
Yeah, I think
the film's amazing. Yeah, everyone knows.
I mean, what you've been describing already is, I don't know about you, Jack, but it's kind of Blade Runner.
Comes to mind.
The next part was going into Shakespeare, because all the original stories are pulled from there, and Blade Runner itself is quite similar to a few Shakespeare plays. Sorry.
So you've basically, what you're saying is you've taken inspiration from across the board. Across
the board, pulls parts from everywhere, because there's nothing original about film anymore. But
well, you know, it's the best part of flattery, isn't it? When you copy people's work. I'm not saying copying people's work, but taking inspiration from people's work. Well, this is very interesting in the world building of it. So from that,
in a more sort of technical side of things, when are you shooting the film?
So we'll be shooting in February. February 10th is when we start. It'll be in and around London. It's going to be great fun. It's only a 2-week shooting window. Okay. But it's going to be quite tight and effective.
And again, coming from the technical side of things, what sort of equipment and techniques are you using when it comes to cameras, the camera work? Are you using cranes? Are you using sliders? What camera are you using?
Well, a whole bunch. We'll be using the Blackmagic Ursa, which is a tiny little 4K camera. We won't be filming it in 4K because only 4 cinemas in the world actually show 4K. And there's really no point. But we'll be using cranes, jibs, sliders, Steadicam.
Oh yeah, that's a good question. If you're going to use Steadicam, that's quite some rig to be using on the Steadicam. Yeah.
Of course, editing is a huge part of any film. Is there any specific platform you're using to edit the film?
The main chunk of the film will be edited on Avid, which is the industry professional tool to edit films. We'll then move over for the sound onto Pro Tools, which again is the industry for film and music.
Are you overseeing any of the editing process as a director, or are you sort of leaving it to those editors?
Well, when I first started directing, I used to leave it to the editors. I couldn't stand seeing the first few cuts because they're always wrong. And you just go, I've messed up, I made a terrible film, it's awful. But now I just love sitting back and helping it. It's like the best jigsaw puzzle. Yeah. You build all the pieces and you put them together, and it's I always sit in for the edit now for every aspect of it. I'm not sat through an animation part of the edit before, but I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah. We have an insane amount of people doing graphics and animation for the film that will be on a massive list of software. I can't remember the name of all of it, but they have their preferred way of doing it, and I'll let them do what they want to do.
Okay. Yeah. Well, this comes back to the logistics. I mean, there you go, right from the beginning, where you are obviously promoting and trying to get your budget together to the filming itself. So, okay, so we know when you're looking to start shooting it. So we know what you're using to shoot it. We've now got a good description of the dystopian world that the truth is basically built within. So that leads us on to how much is this movie actually going to cost? Well, I mean, what is the budget? And can you give us any idea of how you're dividing that budget up in the different areas required to make the film?
So the budget itself, we've narrowed down to £3,500.
Say that again, how much?
£3,500.
Okay.
It's still quite optimistic.
Well, even so,
it's very tight.
In this day and age, that's a very tight budget, especially once you're paying for your actors.
Yeah, well,
I take it you're not paying them in
not Big Macs, not this time. And Nando's this time.
Nando's.
No. The majority of the money's going towards the actors. They require, because we have so many of them and they need to come in quite a few days, it's around £2,000 just for the actors.
Just for that is a huge chunk of your budget gone already just there.
Yeah, well, that's why we're working in miniature, just to save on location spending, and because then we can build the sets from the inside and make it a lot cheaper for us, and it will still have the great grand appearance of an expensive film.
Are you using any CGI in that at all? I mean, you're talking about making models.
Well, yeah,
using
so
green screen.
We have a lot of connections that we're using as much as we can. We have VFX, CGI, we have stills being made for us, props being made for us. It's amazing.
And of course, other areas that we haven't spoken about. You've obviously got costume.
Yeah, costume, yeah.
Hair and makeup.
Hair and makeup.
And one of the vital things whenever you're doing any filming at all, and that's catering.
Yeah. Oh, we have a great catering idea. And it's not Big Macs or Nando's. It's
There's a third option, Jack. Jack, there's a third option.
So obviously you're setting this budget. How much have you raised of it so far? Are you sort of still raising it?
Yeah, so we're still raising it. We're raising it through a site called indieGoGo.
Okay.
So far we've raised just over 20% of our budget.
Okay. That's not good. How long has it been running?
It's been running 1 week so far.
1 week? So that's really good.
We were trending on the site for a while, and that was quite cool.
Excellent.
So where can people go to donate for the project?
If people go to indiegogo.com and search in The Truth, a Dystopian Film.
Okay, and if they do that, what kind of things can they do? Levels of donations, or what do they get to encourage them?
Yeah, there's many exclusive perks we give away. There's shout-outs on social media. There's thank yous in the credits. You can become an associate producer. You can get a lanyard, exclusive concept art, posters, exclusive screening to the film before it's released.
Oh, that's a good question, actually, which we haven't actually asked. How are you going to be releasing it? Across what medias, or where are people going to be able to see the movie when it's finished?
So the first initial release we're aiming for, we can't promise we'll get it, but we're going to enter it into the Cannes Film Festival in the Sci-Fi short section.
Excellent.
Which will be an amazing open for the film.
Well, what are the parameters on that? Isn't a short movie got to be maximum 20 minutes these days?
Maximum 20 minutes, above 10.
Okay.
Or, around 6 to 20 minutes long.
So, that'd be good if you get it, certainly at the Cannes Film Festival.
Yeah, that's a big platform.
After that, it'll be on Vimeo and screening at many festivals around the UK.
Awesome. Well, you've obviously told us about indieGoGo. Are there any other platforms that you can find out about The Truth?
Yep.
Have you got Facebook, websites, anything like that?
You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. And on all of them, you can follow our link to our website, The Truth. Yep, that's it.
Right. So you've got a Facebook page on there, Instagram, so people can basically keep up literally on a daily basis.
We post every day.
Right, so you're doing things on Facebook. I know you do live videos. I think we've seen a couple of the live broadcasts while you're behind the scenes while you've been doing things. And you've done a promotional video recently. Do you want to tell us about that?
Well, we wanted to give people a taste of what the film would be like before they donated, but obviously we couldn't afford a proper sci-fi set, so we brought it back about 50 years. So it's we decided to be set when the truth is just starting up.
Right, so it's just on the take hold as a...
Yeah, so it's a bit more of a crime drama start to the video. It was quite fun and a bit cheeky, but then it goes into the more factual, what the film is, how much we're spending, the exact budget's in there.
Okay, so if anybody wants to see this little introductory...
It's at the top of the indieGoGo website for The Truth, and it's on YouTube, The Truth channel.
Oh, right. If we go onto YouTube, you can easily find it by just spelling in The Truth. Great. So, Lucas, would you like to come back and give us an update once you've got the actual film in the can? Tell us about how that's gone and how the post-production editing is going in the future. Would you like to come back and do that for us?
I'd love to. I'd love to talk about how the filming went, all the actors, the post-production. I love it all. Oh,
well, you're more than welcome to come back and we'll look forward to seeing you. So thank you very much, Lucas, for coming in this evening and giving us this podcast about The Truth. We do like a bit of sci-fi, don't we?
Yes.
Anyway, thank you very much and hope to see you again.
Thank you.
Well, that was a very interesting insight into this new short film. I, for one, am very interested.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having him back for the update in the new year.
Exactly. And as we do in every episode, we're going to go to our social media roundup.
Yeah, and this week we're right on the cusp of the festive season. I can almost hear the jingle bells jingling. And certainly if you've gone shopping at this time of the year, you probably had enough of hearing jingle bells jingling. But what we'd like to do is just take the opportunity on this podcast to thank all those people out there in social media land for following us and for liking the podcasts across all the different formats, the platforms.
Yeah, it's great to have your support.
Yeah, I've been really enjoying the feedback we've been getting.
Yeah. Of course, you can support us and you can also comment your questions for the next social media roundup on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, as well as obviously keeping up to date on future projects from Zak Wylde Productions.
Yeah, don't forget, we're also there available on Spotify, Podbean and YouTube. And obviously you can pop over to the Zak Wylde Productions website at www.zakwyldeproductions.com. And again, listeners, if you would really be kind to stick your comments down, hammer your questions over to us, and you never know, we might be reading yours out in our next social media roundup.
Yes, we will.
Well, Jack, I think that just leaves one thing to say.
One more thing.
One more thing, and that is, cue the jingle!